During the Middle Ages in Europe, much of the medical knowledge developed during the Roman Empire had been lost or forgotten. Medicine was in terrible condition, and ordinary people had almost no access to proper doctors or hospitals. Traveling physicians were often the only hope for the sick, but most of them understood very little about the human body. In contrast, the Islamic Golden Age was a time of incredible progress in medical science. Scholars and physicians there made groundbreaking discoveries in anatomy, surgery, medicines, and medical ethics. They studied Greek, Roman, and Indian medical texts and improved that knowledge even further. The story takes place in 11th century England, where life is harsh and full of suffering. Here we meet the main character, Rob Cole. Rob is the eldest child in his family, and from a very young age, the burden of supporting everyone falls on his shoulders. He works in dangerous mines to provide food for his sick mother and his two younger siblings. One day, a traveling physician named Barber arrives in their town. Barber is clever, mysterious, and knows how to impress people with dramatic words and tricks. He claims that he can cure many illnesses. That same night, Rob's mother suddenly suffers from unbearable pain. When Rob places his hand on her chest, he senses something strange and terrifying. Fear fills his heart, and he becomes convinced that she is going to die. Desperate to save her, Rob runs to find Barber, the only healer in town. Barber agrees to help, but by the time they reach the house, a crowd has already gathered there. In those days, medical treatment was often seen as witchcraft or black magic. Because of fear and superstition, the villagers refused to let Barber treat Rob's mother. That terrible decision cost her life. Slowly, the illness kills her, while her helpless children can do nothing but watch. The next morning, the villagers take Rob's younger brother and sister away, and even the family's belongings are claimed by others. Rob is left completely alone, with no home and no family. In his despair, he turns to the only person who showed him even a little kindness, Barber. At first, Barber hesitates, but eventually pity overcomes him, and he takes Rob in as his apprentice. Years pass, and Rob travels across the country with Barber, helping treat sick and injured people. The frightened little boy slowly grows into a smart and confident young man. Yet one question continues burning inside him. He desperately wants to know what lies beneath the skin of the human body, and more than anything, he wants to understand the illness that killed his mother, appendicitis. One day, Rob tells Barber that he wants to see inside the human body. But Barber is horrified because surgery and operations are considered crimes during that time. He warns Rob never to speak of such dangerous ideas again. Months later, Barber's eyesight begins failing because of old age and cataracts, making it harder for him to treat patients. One day, a farmer comes to their wagon to have a tooth removed. As Barber works, Rob suddenly feels the exact same strange sensation he experienced on the night his mother died. Fear grips him, his heartbeat races, and moments later the farmer collapses and dies right there on the treatment table. The incident deeply shakes Rob and leaves him haunted once again by the mystery of death and disease. Sometime later, Rob nervously tells Barber about the strange feeling he experiences whenever someone is close to death. He says in fear, "I can feel it beforehand when someone is about to die." But Barber immediately dismisses the idea as superstition. He refuses to believe that Rob might possess some special ability. That same night, an angry mob gathers outside their wagon. The townspeople begin accusing them of being witches and blame them for the farmer's death. Within moments, chaos erupts. The crowd brutally beats both Barber and Rob and throws them out of town like criminals. Even after such humiliation, Barber does not give up. He continues teaching Rob everything he knows about healing and slowly begins trusting him with more responsibility while treating patients. However, Barber's eyesight keeps getting worse. His vision becomes so weak that he can barely work without Rob's help. One day, a patient tells them about a Jewish physician who is rumored to cure blindness itself. At first, Rob cannot believe it, because during those times blindness was considered almost impossible to heal, but seeing his mentor suffer, he decides to try anyway. The next morning, Rob and Barber travel to the Jewish doctor's home. The treatment begins and continues for many days and nights. Rob watches carefully as the physician uses advanced methods unlike anything he has ever seen before. Then one day, something unbelievable happens. Barber's eyesight returns. Rob is left completely stunned. For the first time in his life, he realizes that medicine can achieve far more than he ever imagined. Curious and amazed, he asks the doctor where he learned such extraordinary knowledge. The physician smiles and replies, "From the greatest physician in the world, Ibn Sina, in Isfahan." The moment Rob hears that name, his eyes light up with hope and excitement. Without hesitation, he says that he also wants to go to Isfahan and study there. But the doctor suddenly becomes serious. He warns Rob that the journey itself could kill him. He explains that Jews are tolerated in Muslim lands, but Christians are not. If Rob's true identity is discovered, he could be executed before ever reaching the city. Although these words deeply wound his dreams, they do not weaken his determination. Instead, they make his desire even stronger. Now Rob wants to reach Isfahan no matter what happens. He dreams of learning directly from Ibn Sina and becoming a true Hakim. Babur repeatedly tries to stop him, warning him about the dangers ahead, but Rob has already made his decision. He is tired of the weak and incomplete treatments practiced around him. More than anything, he wants to understand the secrets of the human body and truly learn how to save lives. Finally, Rob says goodbye to his mentor and begins the greatest journey of his life. After a long and exhausting journey, Rob finally reaches Egypt, but before continuing further, he realizes that traveling openly as a Christian would be extremely dangerous in Muslim territories. To survive, he decides to disguise himself as a Jew. He undergoes circumcision and takes a new identity, Jesse ben Benjamin. From that moment on, he travels completely as part of the Jewish community. During the journey, Rob joins a caravan of Muslim travelers. Among them, he meets a beautiful and intelligent woman named Rebecca. As they travel together through the desert, the caravan arrives at a village that has recently been attacked by the Seljuks. The Seljuks are feared nomadic warriors who believe Allah has chosen them to punish sinners. The sight before them is horrifying. Burning houses fill the village with smoke, dead bodies lie everywhere, and almost no one has survived the massacre. Amid all the destruction, only one little girl is found alive. Rebecca immediately decides to take care of her. Rob uses the medical knowledge he learned from Babur to treat the frightened child. The travelers become impressed by his skills and calmness, especially in such terrible conditions. Soon after, disaster strikes again. A massive sandstorm crashes into the caravan while they are crossing the desert. Dust fills the sky so completely that people cannot even see each other. Travelers scream in panic, camels lose control, and many people are swallowed alive by the storming sand. When the storm finally settles, the caravan has been completely scattered. After wandering through the endless desert for an entire day, only Rob and one other man remain alive together. That night, they stop to rest in the freezing desert darkness. But while Rob is praying quietly to Jesus, the man suddenly realizes the truth. Rob is not really a Jew, but a Christian pretending to be one. Furious, the man attacks him. A violent struggle breaks out between them in the middle of the desert, and eventually the man dies during the fight. Now Rob is completely alone once again. After many more painful days of traveling through hunger, thirst, and exhaustion, Rob finally reaches Isfahan. The magnificent city fills his eyes with hope. After surviving so much suffering, he feels that his dream is finally close. Without wasting a moment, he rushes to the famous medical school, desperate to meet Ibn Sina and become his student. But fate disappoints him once again. The school refuses to admit him. The guards brutally beat him and throw him out onto the streets like a beggar. After lying helplessly on the street for some time, a man notices Rob and takes pity on him. He brings him inside, arranges treatment for his injuries, and most importantly, introduces him to the legendary physician Ibn Sina himself. The moment Rob sees the greatest doctor in the world standing before him, he becomes emotional. After such a long and painful journey, he cannot believe that his dream has finally come true. And then, something even more unbelievable happens. Ibn Sina accepts Rob into his medical school. Overwhelmed with joy, Rob shouts happily like a child whose greatest wish has finally been fulfilled. As the days pass, Rob begins studying diseases that were considered impossible to cure back in England. But in Isfahan, those same illnesses are treated with simple medicines and advanced knowledge. Every lesson opens a completely new world before his eyes. One day, Rob discovers that Rebecca is still alive. Excited and relieved, he immediately goes to meet her. But his happiness quickly fades when Rebecca tells him that she is soon going to marry a wealthy merchant. Hearing this breaks Rob's heart, and for the first time since arriving in Isfahan, he feels truly helpless again. That night, after helping treat a sick woman, Rob and Ibn Sina sit together and have a deep conversation. Rob opens up about his childhood and tells him how his mother died from appendicitis because there was nobody capable of saving her. He also confesses the strange feeling he experiences whenever someone is close to death. Rob says that more than anything, he wants to learn every secret of medical science. But he also feels frustrated that even such an advanced hospital still cannot cure appendicitis. Hearing this, Ibn Sina calmly replies, "Even here, surgery is considered a sin, but perhaps the world may change in the next 1,000 years." The very next day, Ibn Sina takes Rob to the royal palace after the Shah personally summons them. There they learned that the ruler of the Seljuks had recently sent his own son to Isfahan with a peace proposal, but instead of accepting peace, the Shah executed him and sent his severed head back. To avenge this insult, the Seljuks secretly send a man infected with a deadly plague into the city. The infected man wanders through crowded streets, spreading the disease everywhere before anyone realizes what is happening. Once people discover the truth, fear explodes across Isfahan. Ibn Sina and Rob desperately beg the Shah to evacuate the city before the epidemic becomes uncontrollable, but the Shah refuses to listen. Instead, he casually invites Ibn Sina to join him on a hunting trip. Ibn Sina firmly refuses. Rather than abandoning the people, he chooses to stay beside his students and face the plague with them. Soon, the hospital overflows with dying patients. Painful screams echo through the halls day and night, while death spreads through every corner of the city. The situation becomes so terrible that soldiers seal the city gates, allowing only wealthy people to escape. Rebecca's husband is among those privileged enough to leave. Without hesitation, he abandons Rebecca behind to die. But Rob finds her before it is too late and immediately brings her to the hospital. Day and night, he personally cares for her. He tells her stories, stays beside her constantly, and refuses to let her lose hope. Meanwhile, Ibn Sina continues searching for the real cause of the plague. Finally, he discovers that fleas living on rats are spreading the disease throughout the city. The moment he realizes this, he orders that all rats in Isfahan be killed immediately. Slowly, the infection begins weakening. Patients start recovering, and little by little, the city returns to normal again. Rebecca also survives and fully recovers. One day, unable to suppress their feelings any longer, Rob and Rebecca finally grow close to each other, but their happiness does not last. As soon as the danger passes, the rich citizens return to Isfahan, including Rebecca's husband. Despite loving Rob, Rebecca is forced to return with him. Meanwhile, the Shah organizes a grand ceremony to honor Ibn Sina and his students for their courage during the epidemic. After the hospital resumes normal work, Ibn Sina begins trusting Rob with greater responsibility and allows him to handle new patients himself. One of these patients suffers from severe appendicitis. He is a Zoroastrian man who calmly explains that after death, his body should be left for vultures, because his religion believes this purifies the soul. Rob promises him that he will survive, but despite every effort, the man eventually dies. At first, Rob feels completely devastated by the loss, but then he suddenly remembers something important. Unlike many others, Zoroastrians are not afraid of cutting open dead bodies. At that moment, a dangerous yet revolutionary idea enters Rob's mind. Determined to finally uncover the truth hidden inside the human body, he secretly takes the dead man's body to an isolated place and performs what may be the first human autopsy of his life. Carefully and fearfully, Rob studies the organs inside the body. During this forbidden research, he finally discovers the vermiform appendix, the very organ responsible for the terrible illness that killed his mother years ago. Realizing the importance of his discovery, Rob writes down all his findings and hides the papers safely. Meanwhile, chaos begins rising inside Isfahan. The royal mullahs start a rebellion against the Shah. They preach that people from other religions and communities should not be allowed to live in Muslim lands. Soon they secretly join forces with the Seljuks. Their goal is clear: destroy the Shah, massacre the Jews, and take control of Persia. At the same time, Rebecca discovers that she is pregnant with Rob's child. The news fills her with joy, and she immediately rushes into the city to find him. But what she sees there horrifies her completely. The mullahs are dragging Rob through the streets like a criminal. They accuse him of necromancy and black magic because he cut open a dead human body for research. But Rebecca's suffering becomes even worse when her husband discovers her affair with Rob. Furious and humiliated, he sentences her to death by stoning. The next day, Rob is brought before the court. The mullahs publicly declare him an evil sorcerer. At the same time, they accuse Ibn Sina of being his partner in forbidden practices. Then they present the dissected body as proof of their crimes. The sight enrages the entire court. Finally, both Rob and Ibn Sina are sentenced to death. Outside, the furious crowd screams hateful insults, shouting that a Jew has polluted their holy city. Hearing all this hatred, Rob finally breaks down emotionally. Hoping to save the innocent Jews from suffering because of him, he confesses the truth. "I am not a Jew, I am a Christian." But nobody believes him. The punishment remains unchanged. Locked inside prison, Rob apologizes to Ibn Sina for everything that has happened. But Ibn Sina calmly replies, "You are my greatest student. You have carried medical science far ahead, but your impatience may now cost both of us our lives." During what they believe are their final hours alive, Rob shares every detail of his research with Ibn Sina. He explains the organs he discovered and everything he learned from the autopsy. At that moment, when all hope seems lost, an unexpected order arrives from the Shah himself. "Release them." The truth is finally revealed. The Shah is secretly suffering from severe appendicitis and is slowly dying. He knows that only Rob and Ibn Sina may be able to save him. Desperate to survive, the Shah is willing to risk everything. Rob immediately agrees to perform the treatment, but he has one condition first. Rebecca must be freed. Having no other choice, the Shah sends his soldiers at once. They battle against the mullahs and rescue Rebecca just in time before her execution. Now history is about to change forever. After all the preparations are completed, Rob begins the operation on the Shah with trembling hands. Ibn Sina and several students stand beside him, watching carefully. The atmosphere is terrifying because no such surgery has ever been performed before, but Rob remembers every detail from the autopsy. Slowly and carefully he removes the infected appendix. The surgery succeeds. The Shah survives. Grateful for his life being saved, the Shah promises to protect the innocent people of the city. He orders his soldiers to safely escort all the Jews out of Isfahan and provide them with supplies for their journey, but outside the city walls, war has already begun between the Seljuks and Isfahan. The mullahs launch attacks across the city and set the great hospital on fire. Rob gathers the remaining survivors near the eastern gate so they can escape before the city falls, but then he realizes Ibn Sina is missing. Terrified, Rob runs back toward the burning hospital. Inside, he finds Ibn Sina sitting alone in silence while flames consume the building around him. Tears fill the old physician's eyes as he hands his precious book to Rob and softly says, "Hakim Robert Cole." Hearing those words, Rob's eyes fill with tears too. Knowing his time has come, Ibn Sina chooses to remain there peacefully and take his final breath among his books and knowledge. With a broken heart, Rob is forced to leave his beloved teacher behind. After escaping through the eastern gate with the others, Rob's long journey finally reaches its end. Years later, he becomes a famous physician in London. He now owns a large hospital where countless diseases are treated using the advanced knowledge he brought from Isfahan. Rebecca is by his side, and together they finally live the life they once dreamed about. One day, the old barber hears about Rob's success from a young boy who recently visited the hospital. Hearing this news fills him with pride. At the end of the story, Barber walks proudly toward Rob's hospital with the little boy beside him and smiles as he says, "I was the one who taught him how to become great." So friends, I hope you liked this video. If you liked the video, then like, share, and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video. Till then, bye.